All right, Billy, apparently we're concocting something in my kitchen. What are we doing?
Yes, this goes from my kitchen to your kitchen.
Well, yeah, because you experiment in your kitchen all the time.
Yes, to the detriment of space and and that sort of thing. So we are making homemade fermented pill pockets.
Which is awesome, because as far as I'm concerned, there aren't any really, really good pill pockets on the market that I can really like jump behind and be like, yeah, that's made with all organic, healthy ingredients.
Well, and sometimes too, it just totally depends on what type of food you feed. So if you're feeding, say, a raw diet, it's very easy to put the pills into the food. But if maybe you're feeding a freeze-dried diet, or maybe you're feeding, kibble and adding fresh things, this can be a little bit easier. And I know my dog is very much a dog that can kind of sniff out pills.
Well, yeah, and if they're picky, so little Forrest is really picky about his food. So I try not to adulterate it, or if we have dogs that have kidney disease, heart disease, and their appetite's a little bit funky, we really try not to get them off their food. Like, we really want to leave their food as pure as possible. So it's really nice if you could give them a little treat that tastes good, that they like, that's also going to be healthy. So I don't feed any grains to my dogs. And so we had to have a binding agent for these pill pockets. So I was sent to the store. I came home with organic coconut flour and superfine almond flour, because both of those are going to be fine for dogs with cancer, kidney disease, anything like that. It's going to be a much healthier alternative. All right, so you have coconut flour, I have almond flour, you have sun butter, which is organic sunflower seeds.
Yep.
When buying anything like this, we also have almond butter, and then tahini, which is sesame seed butter. And for any of these, when you're buying them, really read the label, because some of them will have xylitol, they'll have sweeteners in them, cane sugar. Like, I buy ones that are absolutely pure. This is only sesame seeds, that's only sunflower seeds, and that is only almond.
Yes, and I will say too, the other one that I enjoy using as well is hemp butter, which can be found typically where you can find these, or online or something like that.
They had that at the grocery store with these. I don't like the taste of hemp. I'm gonna have to eat these things, so didn't bring home hemp butter.
There you go. and I do like your point about the not really kind of changing their diet, because the best part about these is when you're making this, it's more of a dough, so you can just take off as much as you need. And I know, when I've used something like this, I just wrap as little as I can around it where they can do it, and then you can kind of, still stay on the same nutritional profile.
Okay, so we have our 2 tablespoons of flour. Now what?
Yes, and this is very easy to do, and you can make larger amounts than this recipe, but for me, I have a 25-pound dog, and this would be like 3 or 4 days worth, and for me, this takes like 3 minutes to do, so I just whip it up and then keep it in fresh. A container in the fridge. But I know when I've gone out of town, I've frozen them for Emily to feed Huckleberry, and they were totally fine after that. Cool. Although, quick funny story. The first time she fed, I kind of sort of thought she would know that you just put a small amount on it. But the first time she did it, she put the entire dough ball around one pill. And she's like, so there's no more left. And I was like, okay, well, he was probably...
Instructions, gotta leave instructions.
He's probably feeling pretty good. So it's a very simple recipe here. So you have 2 tablespoons of the binder, like we mentioned here. And then it's 1 tablespoon of the nut butter here. So we can go ahead and do that. You'll want to probably have a spoon so you can kind of sometimes, and you can kind of approximate this to some degree. And then once we add the liquid, I'll actually show you kind of some notes about if you've ever made a dough at home, sometimes you have to add more, say, flour to it in order to get a specific consistency. And so this would be a similar situation. When you start adding the liquid, you kind of have to see okay, this might be a little too sticky, and then you might add in, some more of X or...
That's like when I make my waffles and pancakes. I don't have a recipe. I mix up all my wet ingredients, and then I put my flour in, and then sometimes we end up with a really large batch of waffles because I add too much flour, and then I have to add more milk, and then back and forth, and it's okay.
What would
great leftovers.
What would be easier than that?
Using a measuring spoon? No.
That's exactly right.
Actually, I have it down to, I pretty much, at this point, I can do it without, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, agreed. So
Okay,
this
so
is
1 tablespoon of the nut butter.
Yes.
And
so
it was 2 tablespoons of flour. Okay.
And now we have the fermented element. So this, you could use sauerkraut juice. You could really use any fermented liquid. Kombucha is going to be a really great one that is easy to find at the grocery store. So, we've kind of gone over that with the berries.
Read labels. So this one was kind of one of the cleanest ones I could find. And I bought cranberry because cranberry is so incredibly good for our pets as well. So this is kombucha culture of black tea, green tea, kiwi juice, unsweetened pure cranberry juice. So, and it's all organic. So,
and the kiwi juice is actually used as the starter in the culture. So instead of sugar, they're actually using juice to start the culture in that. So,
and I did a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know anything about kombucha.
This is a really good brand. And so you're using a tablespoon of this to start. And I think the order we did this in is good because sometimes if you put it in right away, then it kind of absorbs all the moisture, and then you kind of have to add more. So then we would start mixing it up, and
it's frothy.
Yes, that is true.
It's frothy.
And as this is a good time to remind you that kombucha is not only high in healthy yeasts to keep away those bad yeasts, and also probiotics, but is also a very good source of antioxidants because it has green tea and black tea, and you don't have to worry about the kombucha. Wow, you don't have to worry about the caffeine because the fermentation process processes out most, if not all, of the caffeine. Yep.
Well, this made a really nice consistency.
See, so
yours needs more moisture.
Yes.
Which is funny. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. But coconut flour can be a little weird sometimes.
So this is exactly what I was talking about. So I'll add a little bit more on my end. So when you do yours like that, so what I like to do is mix it around enough, and then in the end just kind of mix it together with my hand a little bit, so it's kind of a dough ball, if you will.
This made a really nice consistency. So this was the almond flour.
So we'll go ahead and show yours then.
Yours is going to need more liquid.
Yes.
It's kind of like the pancake experiment.
Yes, exactly.
Keep going. He's going to have a large volume by the time he's done.
Yes. I might just
coconut flour can be a little weird that way.
I might just go free form here.
There you go. So there I have my little dough ball.
Yep.
It's nice and sticky. What I need is a dog. I'll get a dog.
And so the other thing too is if you want it to be a little bit less sticky, you can kind of pull that thing people do when they bake, where you just sprinkle a little bit of flour on there, and then. But the key to using these is all you have to do is take off a hunk of the actual dough itself, and then place it around the pill, so you can actually get a lot of use out of this. She's going to show you exactly what it should look like when you add enough moisture to it. So
he says, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I know. I just woke you up. You're like, and it's sticky. There you go. Yum, yum, yum. He says, I knew we were cooking and I was going to get something today. Good boy.
Well, and this is also a good way to, at Green JuJu, we're all about fiber and, healthy fats. And so this is a great way to add extra fiber to the diet. And especially, we know that, through studies in humans, and this relates to our dogs as well, that the more sort of plant species you can get into a dog's diet in, say, a month, the better for their overall fiber condition, because you can't really replace multiple foods for fiber types. And so this is a great way to get more, plant antioxidants, that kind of thing. So this is actually kind of getting nice now in terms of, might just add a tiny bit more.
Yeah, I mean, basically as long as it'll make a dough ball around a pill, then we're good to go, right?
Yep.
Like this one's a little wet. We could add a little bit, but I like the consistency because it'd be really easy to mold.
Exactly.
And not have a whole bunch, so.
And it also just depends on what works for your pet specifically, and what kind of fat profile you're looking for.
This is nice and sticky.
So this is actually pretty good, I think. Let me just see what we're dealing with here.
So you probably ended up with at least 2 tablespoons.
Yeah,
of
so here you go.
there.
Yeah, this is the kind of the consistency I usually look for. It actually comes into a nice dough ball, and you can take off a little portion of it and just use it. And this stores really well in the fridge. So you have your little...
Awesome.
So we learned something about each
Different
other.
flours.
You like a stickier dough, and I like
a
a
drier
more
dough.
firm dough. So
Well, if I had to roll this out on a cutting board, I would not be real happy with it probably, but it's okay.
and it definitely, if you're making this at home, experiment with what you're doing and see what works in terms of what your animal likes. There you go. So it's not as sticky as you thought. And that's the point, is once you start rolling it around a little bit, it kind of, you're able to do that. And
Awesome.
If you don't, for some reason, there's not all people want to make fermented items. You can obviously make these and just replace this with just water, or you can replace it with maybe another healthy
Goat milk? Or...
Yeah, any healthy liquid that you want to do in terms of that. But I like the fermentation element because you can, well, obviously I like the fermentation element, but you can you can combine, basically a 3-ingredient pill pocket where you're not having any of the stuff you were talking about sort of in the beginning, and add some healthy bacteria, because it's really important to get many different food sources of bacteria. So this is just another way to kind of throw that into the mix with whatever you're doing.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.